Ready.
My name is Shellie S. Jahan. I'm a resident of Clayton County, Georgia. My entire family are victims of police brutality and retaliation here in Clayton County. Since it all began in 2010 when Clayton County Law Enforcement, a battalion of them, kicked in my front door and actually came in. I was pregnant, and they attacked me and beat me, assaulted me, and killed the baby that I was carrying. I was about 5 to 6 months pregnant at the time. And we have filed complaints with the police and sheriff department, and the entire thing was covered up. And since then, my family have become victims of retaliation each time that we try to have the situation investigated. And I would just briefly just stated what happened to my family in 2010. It was about 1:30 in the afternoon when a battalion of police officers and sheriff, deputies, and animal control officers swarmed my home and took me and my family. I was there with 2 children at the time, and they took me and my family on the siege. I called 911, and there were other people that was inside the home. There was another person that called 911 desperately for help. 911, instead of helping us, threatened my family and told us that the police were going to kick my door in ahead of time. Long short, they did kick my door in and came in, and actually they held a gun to my head and held a gun to my oldest son's head as well. And my daughter, which was 4 years old at the time, she was screaming and yelling hysterically. I was, as stated before, I was about 5 to 6 months pregnant. I was assaulted sexually. They sexually assaulted me repeatedly. These were all male law enforcement officers. There were no female. They took my clothes off and they handcuffed my 2 hands behind my back, and they sexually assaulted me. They also took my pictures naked without clothes, and there was severe damage to my home. They dragged me out of my home without clothes. I was taken to the hospital, and actually it was too late because they held me hostage inside my home. I wasn't able to use my telephone to call 911 for help, and that baby died. And in 2013, on May 13, 2013, they retaliated against me because I tried to have investigation done to all these crimes, the murder of my unborn child and sexual assault and all the crimes that they have committed against my family. And 2013, they retaliated. They came back to the home and kicked my door in, this time at 1:30 a.m. in the morning in the dark, and they actually held everybody inside the home, including children, at gunpoint. They took my husband outside and held him where he was not able to help his family, and they actually snatched my daughter. And here's a picture of my daughter I want to show. I have not seen her since 2013. Her name is Diana. And here's Diana. Here's a picture of her. They grabbed her and put her in the back seat of a police car, a Clayton County police car, and drove away with her. And that was the last time my family see her. We cannot inquire about her. We don't know her whereabouts. They just kidnapped my daughter and have her. This was retaliation because we tried to get something done. Investigation into 2013 murder and feticide of my unborn child. So the retaliation continues against my family. And September 2015, I got a letter and I was told to come to the Clayton County Juvenile Court concerning my daughter, which was kidnapped. I just showed you her picture. When I got over to the court, and my family went to the 4th floor. Instead of a hearing, I was immediately nabbed by Clayton County deputies. I was handcuffed. My feet were shackled. I was tortured and was imprisoned and held in jail for 7 days without bail. And they framed me on 2 counts of fraudulent charges in which I did not commit, and they stated that if I did not plead guilty to those charges, they were never going to let me out of jail. So I pleaded no contest, and they framed me on the misdemeanor charges, even though no crime was committed. So this was just an act of retaliation and going against my family. So we attempted again to conduct an investigation into all these crimes are just described. And in September, my oldest son was driving on the street, and he got into a simple accident by hitting somebody from behind. And this case was sent over to the traffic court. The same judge who was involved in setting me up and framing me, who actually have been like a slave master over me, he framed me. He said when I need to go to jail, he just hold me under this slavery mentality situation. That same judge on the prosecution took my son's case from the traffic court and brought it up to the state court, which does not have jurisdiction. And then they fabricated a second charge that my son did not have insurance and the vehicle was driving. So even though we brought insurance in, they still want to prosecute my son. And my son told them that he needed a jury trial. So during the course of the trial, my son got a phone call to come over to the court. And when he went over there was no juror, and the case was not scheduled for trial. And they brought him up to the 4th floor and have another judge force him under duress to plead guilty to following too closely. And he actually sentenced my son, which had no chance to due process, and sentenced my son to 12 months in jail. Nowhere in the United States that anyone would be involved in following too closely and would be sentenced to 12 months in jail. And as I said, this was done under duress. So on April 8th, 2016, about 4 a.m. in the dark morning, we heard the noise and knocking and banging on the door. And everybody started to cry because they're coming in our home, they're kicking our door down, this time for the 3rd time. And each time my children have to witness all of this. So we were crying and screaming and praying to God for help. They kicked the door in and come in, and they just ran inside my home. They actually told me and my family, you have to sit in the couch. They had us sit in our living room couch as if we were children. We couldn't move. And they went upstairs to the home and searched the home. And there are 2 white police officers that were out there, beat my son in his face. And I think it was a broken nose. And there was blood shot to his eye. And when they came downstairs, I just telling them that, look, you know what you're doing is illegal. What you're doing, you're carrying out an illegal order. And then they just said, man, put your hands behind your back. They rushed me and grabbed me, manhandled me, dragged me out, and took me to the jail along with my son. When we got outside, my son, his face was bleeding, was all blood. And they put us into unmarked vehicles. None of these vehicles that we were transported had Clayton County Sheriff Department in them. So in other words, we were kidnapped and put into unmarked vehicles and was driven to the jail. So I just wanted to say and to show how crooked and how corrupt is Clayton County. And if you dare to speak for your right, to the extent of the retaliation that they will do to destroy your family. I have lost a child who was literally kicked out of my belly. I was sexually assaulted, as I stated, repeatedly in my home, and these were all male law enforcement officers that have done this. They covered up all of these crimes. And each time that I try to get investigation done, they kick my door in, come in my home, beat me up. In 2013, they dragged my body on the, about 25 feet, and the code, if you show them here for me, please, on the hard concrete pavement of this driveway. I hit my head, it becomes in contrast, and they dragged me to the jail. I'm a female that they're doing this to, and locked me up. I was temporarily confined to a wheelchair in 2013, just as it was in 2010. I cannot think of any worse retaliation, slavery, human rights violation that can be done to anybody else than what I'm describing here. And now I just want to walk you and show you the door to my home and my place of business, because I work from home, in which they kicked in. There you can see here the footprints. Look at all of these footprints here. These are footprints by law enforcement when they kicked my door in. As I said, it was kicked in on 3 separate occasions. And each time that they kick it in, they commit a crime. It's either going to be a murder or kidnapping, or, I mean, it's just violation. This is beyond anybody's understanding. And let's just go right here for a minute, and I'll show you. This is the door to my place of business and my residence. My family cannot live here or work here anymore because it's not safe. And each time that I pay to repair the home, they comes in, they kicked it down, and they leave it, and they do not repair it, and I don't have insurance. In 2010, there was no door when they took me to the jail. I have girl children that was here. They actually kicked the whole door off the residence, and they never repaired it. And I'm just reaching out to the public for help. There's no way that this kind of situation, Jim Crow, slavery, can continue to happen to people, law-abiding citizens, that have committed no crime. I'm pleading for help and just asking for someone to help me in this situation. And do I leave a website or a phone number?
Phone number.
Okay. And anyone who wants to contact me, my name is Shellie Youhoing-Nanan, and my phone number is 770-603-6660. 770-603-6660. Thank you very much. It's about 10 minutes.